looking at and reviewing the outcomes that we're achieving with programs, and I think that we are pretty proud of the early childhood programming that we do here.
What's the history behind the neighborhood centers?
Well, the Neighborhood Centers actually is a community-based, mission-driven nonprofit. We're not an agency that was sort of dropped down by the federal government. We came about really as a result of some concerned parents in what is now the Pheasant Ridge neighborhood coming together and saying there aren't really a lot of activities for kids out here after school. And when Pheasant Ridge was built, it was at that time called Mark IV. But it was really set apart from the center of the city. And so you had the rec center downtown, and you had a lot of activities for youth downtown, but you didn't see a lot of activities out in the neighborhoods. And so kids were getting out of school, coming home and getting in trouble, and the parents were saying, we need to have some constructive activities during the after-school time for kids. And so they got together with some volunteers from the University School of Social Work and the managers of the apartment complex, and they started to do some after-school program. It was a very modest beginning. The apartment complex granted them a use of a 3-bedroom apartment, and so they started in the fall of 1973. Started with a budget of $100 and began doing some after-school programs in a 3-bedroom apartment. And so I think it's important to know, in sort of recognizing who we are and understanding the character of this organization, this agency, to know that this is an organization that came from the neighborhoods, was an outgrowth of parents in a neighborhood. And I think that as we move forward, and we've certainly come a long ways from that $100 budget year, and are doing a lot more programming now. But I don't think that we've completely lost track of where we came from, in that we still keep an ear to the ground in the neighborhood, and we are a very responsive very responsive organization to what the needs of the neighborhood are. So as needs emerge, and in my 15 years here, there have been a variety of different changing needs. I think we are poised to react and respond to those emerging needs in a way that I'm also pretty proud of. One really good example of that, in the mid-90s, the state initiated some welfare reform initiatives that were followed in 1996 by a massive federal welfare reform initiative. And when I started at the neighborhood centers in 1995, and at that time we had a cooperative daycare here, which served about 12 kids, and it was really where parents could come in and work a bit, and then, in return get some child care time. And in 1996, when the Federal Welfare Reform Initiative was enacted, the push really was to get parents into the workforce. And so the result of that was they needed child care. And there was not adequate child care in the neighborhood or in the community to meet the needs. And so we met with a group of parents. I remember meeting with a group of parents and them saying, we've got to do more child care. And so in 1995, we had 12 slots of cooperative child care. By 1997, we had 120 slots of child care just to respond to that emerging need. So it was a very rapid growth in a program based upon what was happening in the neighborhood. Now that's a fairly dramatic example, but a good example of how I think we're trying to always respond to things that are happening in the neighborhood. And recently we've undertaken some work around fitness and obesity. We were the recipients of a generous grant through the Coles Foundation and are working with the University of Iowa Children's Hospital to do some programming for our school-age kids and our infants and toddlers, really looking at what are we doing in terms of diet. And we started by completely redoing all of our menus here. And then looking at what kinds of things can we do to improve fitness for kids, looking at how do we build a child's life around sort of building in activities, into their daily life that were physically exerting, or at least, provided some opportunity for them to exercise. So it's really how do you get kids walking to school, biking to school, walking to places, doing, things that are very active, and less sort of screen time and more outside time, and really looking at how do we kind of move kids away from sort of prepackaged processed foods to more fruits and vegetables, less meats, more other sources of protein. So we've done a lot in that area in terms of working with kids and starting them out early on healthy diets and trying to build in more and more fitness opportunities for them as well.
That's wonderful. That's and there's that little direct correlation between less TB and healthier foods.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're seeing that, and not certainly not with all kids, but with a fair number of kids. This the trends are clear that obesity is rising among youth, and that I think low-income kids have been particularly susceptible to that, with more reliance and more use of I don't know if use is the right word, but more eating more processed foods. And so we're really trying to build a sort of a palate that's sensitive to or at least appreciative of a healthier diet early on. And so we start with infants and toddlers, and so work that up into
introducing
after
healthier foods earlier. Yeah. That's great work.
But our mission really is to, we see ourselves as, bringing opportunity for kids who, whether it's, we try to build, we're about building skills, and, whether it's, getting children ready for kindergarten, or helping a youth with be successful in school, or an adult build skills in the area of parenting. I mean, I think one of the things that we really spend a lot of time with in our programs is how do we build skills. And so that can be an infant, developing speech language skills. It can be an adult learning how to how to be a good employee. So it really runs the range. And one of the things about the programming with neighborhood centers is it's always evolving. So there are programs that we will do this year that we didn't do last year, and some that we did last year we won't do this year. So it is an ever-changing array of things happening here. Some of that is driven by funding, some of that to a degree, but we generally are able to maintain our core programs and then add programs that are really enhance the core programs, which are infant, toddler, preschool programs, after-school programs, and parent support and development kinds of things.
Well, thank you so much for telling us all about the Neighborhood Center, and we'll be sure to direct everyone to your website and keep people informed as great things happen around here. Well, thank you so much for all the great information about the centers. And
well, it's great to have you out, Katie. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Community voice. I do what city is. 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 I do what city.